70 bullets, 7 dead men, and Chicago's coldest Valentine's Day, February 14, 1929, 10:30 a.m. Al Capone was having breakfast in Miami that morning. But what happened in that garage at 2122 North Clark Street was the final piece of his sixth-month perfect plan. 2 fake police officers, 4 armed men, and a 70-second execution that ended Bugs Moran's entire gang. This wasn't just gang warfare. This was the story of how Al Capone conquered Chicago with pure calculated terror. Winter 1928, Chicago, the city was frozen, but gang wars had never been hotter. Al Capone, at 29 years old, was America's youngest mob king. Annual income, $40 million. He commanded an army of 1,000 men. Weekly payroll, $300,000. He controlled every bar, casino, and brothel in Chicago. But he had one problem. George Bugs Moran. Bugs Moran, Irish-born, leader of the North Side Gang. For 10 years, he'd been Al's biggest rival, hijacking Capone's whiskey shipments, invading his territory, killing his men. In 1926, Moran's crew had driven 6 cars past Al's Hawthorne Hotel in Cicero, showering the building with over 1,000 bullets. Al had escaped, but the message was clear. Moran had declared war. By late 1928, Al knew the situation needed resolution. He gave his most trusted killer, Jack McGurn, a special assignment. Machine Gun Jack McGurn, real name Vincenzo Garibaldi, Al's coldest assassin, a professional with over 30 murders to his name. And Al told him this: end Bugs Moran, but keep it clean, leave no traces, and make sure everyone understands that nobody challenges me in Chicago. McGurn was given unlimited budget, $20,000 in spending authority. Fred Burke got $5,000, other gunmen received $5,000 each. John Scalise and Albert Onselmy got $1,000 apiece. The plan was simple. Moran's gang met every Tuesday and Friday at the SMC Cartage Company garage on North Clark Street. This was their headquarters. McGurn would arrange a fake phone call offering Moran a shipment of stolen whiskey for sale. Moran would be at the garage on February 14th at 10:30 a.m. McGurn's men would arrive dressed as police officers, stage a raid, line everyone against the wall, then mow them all down with Thompson submachine guns. Al Capone left for Miami a week before the operation. Perfect alibi. No evidence linking him to anything except long-distance phone calls with Jack Gusick, but those proved nothing. On February 13th night, McGurn reviewed the plan one final time. For gunmen to fake police uniforms, Thompson machine guns, fake police car. Every detail was perfect. February 14th, 1929, Valentine's Day, Chicago temperature, 10 below zero, snow piled high in the streets. At 9:30 a.m., McGurn's lookouts started reporting Moran's movements. Moran had left his house, heading toward the garage. McGurn gave his men final instructions: clean work, no witnesses. When this is over, Bugs Moran's gang will be history. 10:25 a.m., a black Cadillac, painted to look exactly like a police car, approached 2122 North Clark Street. 4 men inside, 2 wearing fake police uniforms, 2 in civilian clothes. They stopped in front of the garage. The fake cops got out first, then the other 2, Thompson submachine guns hidden under their coats. Inside the garage were 7 men: Adam Hare, Al Weinshank, James Clark, John May, Pete Gusenberg, Frank Gusenberg, and Reinhard Schwimmer, all of them trusted members of Moran's operation. But Bugs Moran wasn't there. He was running late, and that delay would save his life. McGurn's men entered through the garage door. "Please, hands up," they shouted. The 7 men looked surprised but not panicked. They thought this was a routine police raid. "Turn around, face the wall, hands up," came the command. The 7 men turned their backs to the door, facing the rear wall of the garage. One of the fake officers said, "We're going to search you now," then quietly pulled out his Thompson submachine gun. The other 3 gunmen readied their weapons. 2 Thompsons, 1 shotgun. 7 innocent men stood facing the wall, completely unaware that death was approaching from behind. The first shot fired at 10 hours, 30 minutes and 15 seconds. The characteristic rat-a-tat of the Thompson filled the garage. 70 bullets fired in 45 seconds. Each gunman emptied clip after clip into their assigned targets. The garage walls were riddled with bullet holes. 7 men fell like dominoes. Frank Gusenberg survived despite taking 14 bullets. After McGurn's men left, Jeanette Landisman, walking her dog past the garage, heard the gunshots and called police. Real police arrived 15 minutes later. As Frank Gusenberg lay dying from blood loss, detectives asked him, "Who did this? Who shot you?" Frank's answer demonstrated the power of gang law. "No one shot me. I didn't see anything." Then he died. The other 6 had died instantly. The SMC Cartage Company garage had become the scene of Chicago's bloodiest murder. But the most striking part was Bugs Moran's escape. At 10:35, when Moran rounded the corner toward the garage, he saw the police cars and backed away. Police raid, he thought, and retreated. That 5-minute delay saved his life. That evening, he told reporters, only Capone's dogs would do something like this. Al Capone was swimming in Biscayne Bay that same morning in Miami. When the call came from Chicago at 11 a.m., his response was ready. "I'm very sorry. It's truly regrettable that such violence happens in Chicago, but the cold gleam in his eyes revealed the truth. The plan had worked perfectly. McGurn and his men seemed to vanish into Chicago's streets after the operation. Police searched for hours but found no trace. The fake police cars were burned. The weapons were hidden in a secret location in Michigan. The uniforms were destroyed. All that remained was 70 bullet holes in the garage wall. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre wasn't just the murder of 7 men. It was the operation that forever changed the balance of power in Chicago. Bugs Moran's gang was completely destroyed. The North Side gang was now history. Al Capone had become Chicago's undisputed king. Bootlegging, gambling, prostitution, everything was under his control. But this victory was also the beginning of Al's end. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre created such an uproar that President Herbert Hoover personally gave orders: stop Al Capone. Federal agencies, the IRS, FBI, everyone was now hunting Al. The massacre had made him famous, but it had also made him a target. 2 years later, in 1931, Al Capone was arrested for tax evasion, sentenced to 11 years in prison. First Atlanta, then Alcatraz. The king of Chicago was dethroned at age 32, and ironically, what brought him down wasn't murder, it was tax returns. Jack McGurn was killed in 1936 on Valentine's Day, in a bowling alley, machine gunned down. A note was left beside his body: "You've lost your job, you've lost your dough, your jewels and cars and handsome house. But things could still be worse, you know. At least you haven't lost your wife. Happy Valentine's Day." Fred Burke was captured in Michigan in 1931 but never tried for the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. John Scalise and Albert Onselme were murdered just 2 months after the massacre, on May 7, 1929. Rumor had it Al Capone killed them himself because he didn't trust them. The SMC Cartage Company garage was demolished in 1967, but bricks from the garage wall are displayed in the Mob Museum in Las Vegas. The bullet holes are still visible. Thompson submachine guns were proven in forensic tests. Dr. Calvin Goddard's ballistics tests confirmed the weapons belonged to Fred Burke and Bugs Moran. He was caught in 1946 during small-time robberies and sent to prison. He died in 1957 at Leavenworth Federal Prison from lung cancer. The man who once challenged Al Capone died as a common thief. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre was organized crime's turning point. 70 bullets, 45 seconds, and control of Chicago passed to one man. Al Capone didn't just kill his rivals that cold February morning, he changed the rules of gang warfare. No one could fight him on equal terms anymore. But history teaches us this: the greatest victories often herald the greatest falls. Al Capone was at his peak that day, but 2 years later he was rotting in Alcatraz. Power isn't permanent, and sometimes the bloodiest victories bring the most bitter endings. What does this story make you think about power, betrayal, and consequences? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you have done the same thing in Al Capone's position? And if you enjoyed these untold mobster stories, hit that subscribe button, because next week we're telling you about Al Capone's final days in Alcatraz, the story of how the man who once ruled Chicago died completely alone.